Hey everybody, welcome to On My Mind Monday here on May the 2nd. Wow, it's already the merry month of May, and I've got a few things on my mind today. A couple things I'm going to be covering today. I'm going to be covering the NFL draft, especially with the Pittsburgh Steelers in mind. Just going to talk about that briefly. Also talk about a changing of the guard in the Steel City and kind of a memorable event that has taken place. Then I'm actually going to give my endorsement, my pick, the person that I want for the very important and very hotly contested Senate primary here in Ohio. So the first thing we're just going to talk about is the NFL draft and the Pittsburgh Steelers. My Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Kenny Pickett, number one. So they got a quarterback. It's interesting to me if you looked at the Steelers last year and the way that their quarterback room ran, they had two number one picks, right, in their, or first round picks, I should say, in their quarterback room. And then they also had Mason Rudolph. So, of course, those quarterbacks were Ben Roethlisberger. They were Haskins, right? So Dwayne Haskins was another. And then Mason Rudolph. And then going into the offseason, they continued to have that same kind of formula. Ben, of course, retired, and we wish him the best in his retirement. But they picked up Mitchell Trubisky, who was also a first-round draft choice. So they went to Trubisky and Haskins, and then, of course, Mason Rudolph. Well, of course, we know tragically that we lost Mr. Haskins about a month or so ago. Just in a tragic automobile accident where he lost his life. And so that made some changes. Now, normally the Steelers are going to go into camp with four quarterbacks, and they were down to two. They were down to simply just Mitch and Mason. So they went back in the draft and got the number one quarterback taken in the draft. In fact, the first one taken even in the first 100 or so picks. They went ahead and took Pitt product, Kenny Pickett. So that was good. So now, of course, they're back to that old formula. They have two first round guys in their quarterback room, that being Pickett now, along with Mitch Trubisky, and then, of course, right now Mason Rudolph. And then they did draft a quarterback as their last draft pick, Chris Oladikin. He's seen by many to be someone who's going to be more of a practice squad guy, camp arm, that kind of thing. But they did take actually two quarterbacks in this draft, and I really have zero problem with that. They're looking at Kenny Pickett as the guy that could possibly be the face of the franchise for a long time to come. They know him very well coming from Pitt. And I was not someone who wanted to see a Steelers quarterback drafted. I thought, there were a number of other areas where they might be able to get guys that would be really useful to the team, but the team obviously felt otherwise, and they really did their homework. They studied all the quarterbacks that were going to be out for the draft this year. They studied them. They went over them. They certainly did their due diligence. They really, really looked into it, and this is what they decided on. So, going to be completely happy with that. And satisfied with that. And really, a lot of this draft is going to really go. How does Kenny Pickett do? I don't necessarily think that he has to be a day one starter. Mitch Trubisky, I think, could have carried things next year. I think he's capable. He's certainly capable. So we're going to see. We're going to see how that plays out and how things go over time. Not worried about that. What I am excited about. They got not one, but two receivers, and I was really into the receivers. Of course, they got George Pickens, which, wow, what a fantastic pickup. Assuming that he is healthy, and Kevin Colbert really made a point of saying that he proved how healthy he was at his pro day, and he was apparently just jumping all over the place and just playing really, really well. The kid has a ton of heart. He's got a ton of talent. And Had he not been injured last year, almost everyone prior to last college season would have thought that he was going to be a top 10 wide receiver pick. So that's pretty exciting. And then of course Austin, the second receiver that we got, little guy, but he is fast. He is really really fast. In fact, it's interesting. One of the top defensive backs taken, Cincinnati's own Sauce Gardner, when asked who was the most difficult guy for him to guard, he said it was Austin. And so pretty happy about that. Also got a very talented young guy on the defensive line. He slid a little bit in the draft, mostly because he's what they call a tweener. He's not a full nose tackle or interior guy, nor is he really as much an outside guy, but highly rated, highly capable guy. I expect that they're probably going to put some weight on the kid and have him go from there. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with the Steelers draft. I know there are a lot of Steelers fans that are not as happy. For some reason, they thought we needed O-line help, which if you listen to Ramon Foster and other experts, he's a former Steelers offensive lineman. He says, no, we didn't need that. So there's that. So that goes into my second topic, and that is Kevin Colbert. Kevin Colbert has been the general manager of the Steelers, these 22 years. 22 years is a long time to be in a position like that. The first draft that he drafted in, he had pick number 8. Okay, pick number 8. That's where they got Troy Polamalu, by the way. So he's already drafted a number of Hall of Fame people, including guys like Polamalu, Ben Roethlisberger, that kind of thing. He drafted number 8 on his first one and has never drafted that high since, which is actually something that's really important. Also, in addition, the team now has been to a few Super Bowls and has won 2 of them since he came on board. So he added some trophies to the trophy room, and so that's a pretty big thing. And of course, there are a lot of folks that speculate that if not for just the dynamo of the New England Patriots dynasty that we had over the last 20 years, it probably would have added a number more. So just a real credit. Everyone who's talked about him has not been able to say enough nice things about the guy. He's just a good guy, a good football mind, and I'm sure that Mr. Rooney will hire the right guy to replace him, but he's not easily replaced. He's not easily replaced. So just going to leave that out there. So congratulations to Kevin Colbert on your final draft with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and all the best to you in your life's work. So that brings me down to the last thing I'm just going to talk about on this On My Mind Monday, and that is the Senate primary. Of course, many folks know this is a big primary because our longtime Senator Rob Portman, who has been, we've had our senators, we've had one Democrat and one Republican. So Rob Portman being the Republican and Sherrod Brown being the Democrat. Rob Portman announced that he was not going to run for re-election, that he was going to retire, which is good. I always appreciate that when longtime public servants say goodbye, and especially when they do so before they're really forced out for some reason. And so I appreciate that about Rob Portman. I think he's been a good senator. But that left kind of an opening, a great big opening. So we have a big primary in the Republican Party. Those of you who know me just know, I'm sorry, Democrats are non-starters. I can't vote for them. There's any number of reasons. Anybody who wants to talk to me about it, I'm happy to share with you. But in my mind, Democrats are non-starters. So now we've got the Republicans. And looking at them, I try not to watch too much in the way of the political ads and that kind of thing. But when I'm at the gym in the morning and I'm on an elliptical or an arc trainer and the TVs are just right there in front of me, I just can't help it. I just can't help but see. And one of the things I was really, really disappointed in with this crop of folks was that they really seemed to abase and beclown themselves trying to lick Donald Trump's shoes. And it was just sad to watch. I get it if you agreed on some policy points or those kinds of things, but just how they were just trying to prove and trying to elbow each other out of the way to say that they were the real Trump person, I think has just been ridiculous. And I'm kind of ashamed of most of them for that. All but one. There's one guy that did not do that. And in fact, one guy that did not, you know, specifically take on others saying how terrible they were. He talked about what he's doing, right? And what he wants to do. And that is state senator, and that is Matt Dolan. Okay. So aside from that, it looks like right now the front runner in the race is J.D. Vance, who, despite really being anti-Trump in the past, worked really hard and got that Trump endorsement. Of course, Trump endorsements typically work like Trump looks to see who he thinks will win and then throws his endorsement behind whoever he thinks will win. So there's some cause and effect issues going there. But anyway, so right now we've got the Mike Gibbons who's running. We've got Josh Mandel, the former state treasurer, running. So a number of good folks running. Even Rob Portman endorsed. Gosh, trying to remember her name now. There's so many of them now that were out there, but so many good people. Any one of them probably will be fine. Any one of them would be better than the best Democrat running. They're gonna vote probably 95% the same way, but when it just comes to the kind of character things and the things that you would want, my vote is going to actually go with Matt Dolan. So that's who I'm endorsing. That's who I'm throwing my weight, as it were. I don't know that I have a whole lot of weight to throw, but that's who I'm throwing it behind. So really pulling for Matt Dolan, hopefully that he can pull it out. Last I looked, it looked like he was second in the polling, but it's a pretty tight race is what it looked like. So anyway, that's what's on my mind. Of course, you can put in the comments below who you're voting for. And also, if you have opinions on the NFL draft, of course, Steelers is really who I'm interested in most. But hey, if your team did some good things, I'd love to hear about it and love to hear what you're doing. But aside from that, this is going to be signing off for On My Mind Monday. And I hope that you have a fantastic day. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.